Have you ever looked at someone's success and whispered to yourself, "Why not me?" That whisper, that mix of hope and fear, is where every transformation begins. Because success isn't built overnight. It's built in silence, in struggle, in moments when no one is watching. This is Noah's story, a young dreamer who lost his way, and the 7 lessons that brought him back to life. Maybe, just maybe, his story might be yours too. Noah grew up in a small, sleepy town where the nights were calm, the air was thick with routine, and dreams felt like faraway stars. Visible, but untouchable. Yet from an early age, Noah carried something different inside him, a burning belief that he was meant for more. Every evening, when the sun melted behind the rooftops, he'd sit with his friends and talk about the life he was going to build. His words were so full of passion that they made others stop and listen. "One day," he'd say confidently, "I'll build something the world will remember." And they believed him, because when Noah spoke, he didn't sound like a dreamer. He sounded like someone destined for greatness. His eyes glowed with conviction. His smile carried certainty. But what he didn't realize was that dreams are fragile things. If not turned into action, they begin to fade. Every night, after his friends went home, Noah would stare out his window, thinking, "Tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow." But tomorrow is the most dangerous word for a dreamer, because it slowly kills today. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Noah's words stayed alive, but his actions didn't. He began waking up later, spending hours scrolling through his phone, distracting himself with the noise of other people's lives. He told himself he was researching, learning, waiting for the right moment. But deep down, he was afraid. Afraid to start, afraid to fail. The dreams that once gave him energy now felt like weights pressing on his chest. His friends moved on. Some got jobs, some started families, some quietly stopped showing up to those late-night talks. His parents, who once smiled proudly when he spoke about his future, now only exchanged quiet glances at dinner. They didn't have to say it out loud. He knew. Their silence said everything. Noah felt it too. The sting of time slipping away. He tried to ignore it, to convince himself that everyone moved at their own pace, but every night when he looked in the mirror, he saw less of the boy who once believed and more of a man lost in his own hesitation. The laughter that used to fill his room was replaced by a heavy stillness. His reflection no longer carried fire. It carried fatigue. He was existing, not living. The same routine, the same promises, the same guilt that followed him to bed every night. And yet, beneath all that silence, a small spark still lived. A quiet whisper that refused to die. "You were meant for more," it said. But Noah didn't know that sometimes you have to fall apart completely before you can begin again. Because when life finally breaks you down, that's when the real awakening begins. That morning was colder than usual. The sky was a dull shade of gray, the kind that makes the world feel heavy. Noah stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing the man who stared back. The face was familiar, but the eyes, those once bright, burning eyes, were empty. His reflection felt like a stranger's. The boy who once dreamed of greatness was now just a shadow wrapped in fatigue and disappointment. He touched the glass as if searching for the version of himself that used to believe. Nothing looked back. Just silence. That was the morning something inside him broke. He couldn't keep pretending he was fine. He couldn't keep living in circles of regret. He needed something, or someone, to pull him out before he disappeared completely. Later that day, Noah overheard a conversation in a nearby cafe about a wise old man who lived near the forest. People said he helped those who had lost their purpose. They said his words could heal the broken and awaken the sleeping. Noah didn't know why, but his heart reacted instantly. It was as if the universe had whispered, "Go." He didn't pack much, just a jacket, a notebook, and the last bit of courage he had left. As he walked down the dusty roads leading to the woods, the air changed. The wind grew cooler, carrying the scent of pine and earth. Each step felt like a conversation between his past and his future. When he finally reached a small clearing, he saw him. An old man sitting under a large tree, his presence quiet but commanding, his eyes calm like still water. Noah approached, his voice trembling. "Sir," he said softly, "I once dreamed of greatness. But now, I can't even dream anymore." The old man didn't speak immediately. He simply looked at Noah as though he could see beyond his words, into the cracks of his soul. Then he smiled gently and said, "You've fallen asleep in your comfort. It's time to wake up. I'll give you 7 rules. Follow them, and you'll never feel lost again." Those words hit Noah like thunder wrapped in kindness. For the first time in years, he felt something powerful move within him. Not excitement, not fear, but hope. The old man leaned back against the tree, his voice steady like the rhythm of nature itself. "Growth," he said, "isn't about age or luck. It's about learning. The moment you stop learning, you stop living. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they stop feeding their minds." Noah listened intently, feeling each word carve itself into his thoughts. He realized that he had been waiting for success to find him, all while doing nothing to prepare himself for it. He had wanted results without effort, recognition without growth. The truth stung, but it also freed him. Knowledge wasn't something he'd lost, it was something he could reclaim. That night, Noah returned home different. He didn't scroll through his phone or drown in meaningless distractions. Instead, he picked up a dusty old book that had been sitting untouched on his shelf. The pages smelled of forgotten potential. He read, underlined, took notes, and watched tutorials long after midnight. He wasn't looking for perfection anymore. He was looking for progress. Every paragraph felt like a spark. Every new idea a tiny victory against the emptiness he'd carried. By dawn, something had shifted inside him. He felt awake again. Learning wasn't just about gathering knowledge. It was about remembering who he could become. And as the first light touched his window, Noah smiled quietly to himself. Growth had found its way back into his life, and with it, his dream began to breathe again. Weeks passed, and Noah still hesitated. He kept waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of himself. But that moment never came. The old man's voice echoed in his mind. The perfect time doesn't exist. Only now does. So one day, Noah simply began. He didn't feel ready, but he moved anyway. His first steps were clumsy, uncertain, and small, yet real. Each action gave him strength. Each failure taught him something new. He learned that motion creates motivation, not the other way around. From that day, Noah stopped waiting for perfect and started building, one imperfect step at a time. One freezing morning, Noah's alarm rang at 5 a.m. He wanted to stay in bed, to hide from the cold, but then he remembered the old man's words. Discipline is doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. He stood up, worked in silence, and kept his promise to himself. That small act changed everything. He realized motivation fades, but discipline lasts. It became his anchor, the quiet force that moved him forward when everything else told him to stop. Noah had a new business idea, one that could change his life. But fear whispered, "What if you fail?" He almost listened, until he remembered, you can't cross the ocean by staring at the shore. So he leapt. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. He faced rejection, sleepless nights, and doubt. But every challenge made him stronger. He learned that the pain of trying and failing is far smaller than the regret of never trying at all. That leap didn't just change his path, it changed him. Noah began to notice how his old friends reacted to his progress. They laughed at his ambition, mocked his discipline, and pulled him back into gossip and idleness. The more time he spent with them, the more he felt himself shrinking. He finally saw what the old man meant, that your surroundings are a reflection of your future. So Noah stepped back, not out of pride, but out of protection. He surrounded himself with mentors, builders, and dreamers who lifted him instead of holding him down. Slowly, his energy changed, his mindset sharpened, and his confidence grew. He realized one of life's greatest truths: you become who you spend time with. Years later, Noah returned to the forest where it all began. The old man was gone. Only his wooden chair remained beneath the same great tree. But Noah didn't feel lost anymore. He finally understood. Belief isn't arrogance. It's trust. Trust that you'll figure things out, that you'll rise again, that you can. Standing beneath the fading sunlight, he smiled. He wasn't just successful, he was alive. Everything he had built, every habit, every scar, every choice, had shaped him into the person he was meant to become. The 7 rules hadn't just changed his life. They had rebuilt his soul, one act of courage at a time. Noah's journey is more than a story. It's a mirror. Somewhere inside each of us, there's a version of Noah still waiting to wake up. A version that dreams big, but hesitates. That talks about someday instead of starting today. And the truth is, we've all been there. We've all had moments when fear spoke louder than courage, when comfort felt safer than change. But Noah's life reminds us of something most people forget. Success isn't about luck or timing. It's about decisions. The decision to learn, the decision to act, the decision to keep showing up when no one's watching.